language of literature, today we will discuss metaphor. So language itself is metaphorical, but when literature is written, then we find that special care is given to metaphor. So what is metaphor and what are the types of metaphors that we have that we will see. So when we study metaphor, then we make a comparison. But there is another term, simile. In simile, we also make a comparison. But there is a difference between simile and metaphor. So metaphor is constructed in the same manner as a simile, but the comparative terms like and as are removed. So when we use these comparative terms like and as, so for example, there is a poem by Robert Burns, and the first line of the poem is, "My love is like a red, red rose." Now here we have like, my love is like, and there is a comparison between the love and a red, red rose. My love is like a red, red rose. This is the first line. So here we have a comparison, but here we do not have metaphor. We have a simile because we are using the word like very specifically. So what will happen if we remove this word in the same line? So when we say my love is a red, red rose. Now what I have done, I have removed the word like, the comparative term like. The original form is my love is like a red, red rose. And now like is removed. My love is a red, red rose. So this comparison is a metaphor. When you make a direct comparison, like you are my moon. So when you say you are my moon, then we are using metaphor. And if we say you are like moon, then you are using simile. So this is the basic difference that we have between metaphor and a simile. So what do we have in metaphor? We have a figurative statement. Now we have two types of statements. One is literal statement. Literal statement is I am teaching you. Now this is a literal statement. That means I am telling a matter of fact. It's a literal statement, a factual statement that I am teaching you. Now figurative statement is I am not doing something or I am using a language that is not literally true. So when the poet says my love is like a red, red rose, then a person cannot be like a rose. It is simply a comparison and a figurative statement we are making. So similarly, when Shakespeare says, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" Now here Shakespeare very specifically uses that. Okay, I am not using a metaphor. I am also not using a simile. I am directly making a comparison. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So this is again like I want to compare. I would like to compare you with a summer's day. So that type of thing is there. So we have a figurative statement. Figurative statements, they are in opposition with literal statement. Literal statement is a matter of fact that you have. So what is figurative statement? When we look at a dictionary, we will find the definition of figurative statement: a word or phrase used to describe somebody or something else in a way that is different from its normal use. So we are using language figuratively. That is not actually used by in day-to-day conversation. And why a poet does this type of thing? First of all, poet is a poet because poet does this type of thing. Poet uses metaphors. Poet uses figurative statements. That's why poet is called poet. And that's why it falls under poetry, because it is not a language of communication. That thing we need to remember. Now one example is like she has a heart of stone. Now we are saying like she has a heart of stone. Now we are not saying she is cruel. So cruel is the word that we have. So if we use day-to-day communication, then what we will use? We will use she is cruel, she is unkind. But here we are not using she is cruel, she is unkind, but what we are using, she has a heart of stone. So here she has a heart of stone is a figurative statement. We know heart is not actually of stone. Heart is also a muscle that we have. So what is actually heart? Heart of stone. Heart of stone is like a figurative statement for unkind, a figurative statement for cruelty. So she has a heart of stone is a figurative statement. So when we say that poets, they use metaphors, they use figurative statements, and there is a reason for that. Why? To show that the two things have the same qualities. So it is not like we are matching two things that have no same quality. That is not the case. So we are not saying, Shakespeare is not saying, shall I compare thee to a rocket? Fine, Shakespeare is not saying like this, shall I compare thee to a rocket? Because that type of comparison is uneven. That is an odd comparison. Shakespeare is saying, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So that type of thing is there. Summer in England is quite pleasant. So here the personality of a lover is like a pleasant personality. So shall I compare thee? Thee means you. Shall I compare you to a summer's day? So you are pleasant. So it is not like Indian summer. Indian summer is very harsh. So if you take that in Indian context, then it will become opposite. It will not give the pleasant flavor. So it will give unpleasant flavor. So to show that two things have the same quality, then we use. So when someone says she has a heart of stone, that means the same quality. That means the person has an unkind way of looking things. A person is very cruel, and that's why this figurative statement is used. A metaphor is used. And the second reason that why a poet uses this type of comparison to make the description more powerful. So if I say she is cruel, then it is like an ordinary statement. And if I say like she is unkind, then again it is an ordinary statement. But how you can make it more powerful, how you can make it more emphatic? You can make it more emphatic when you say she has a heart of stone. So you can see like two purpose and two purpose are solved. First is like you make ordinary thing quite different, strange, distinct, and you are making a comparison, balancing the qualities in the comparison of two objects or two one object, one person that you have. So here we will take into consideration the use of metaphor in a poem by Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes is an American poet, and this is a very short 8-lined poem that we have, and the title of the poem is Dreams. So Dreams is an early poem by American poet Langston Hughes, one of the leading figures of 1920s arts and literary movement known as Harlem Renaissance. So you know Renaissance when you study English literature, but there is also Harlem Renaissance that is associated with American poetry, American literature. So this poem was actually published in the magazine titled The World Tomorrow in 1923. So this is the information about this poem. And what is Harlem Renaissance? So this Harlem Renaissance is a notable phrase of Black American writing centered in Harlem. What is Harlem? A predominantly black area of New York City in the 1920s. So like in Jammu, you have different areas, like you have Raghunath Market is one area, you have Gandhinagar is another area. So similarly, in New York, there was a black area in New York City in 1920s, and that area was known as Harlem. And why? Because most of the black population used to live there. So this is the meaning of Harlem here. And this phrase Harlem announced by Alan Locke's anthology, The New Negro in 1920. So this is the background information that you have. And we have a short poem, Dreams, that we are going to look at, written by Langston Hughes. So again, this poem is metaphorical, and you know what do we have in a metaphor? A word or phrase used to describe somebody or something else in a way that is different from its normal use. The first line goes like this: hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Second stanza, hold fast to dreams, the repetition of the first line in the fifth line. For when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. So we will see the figurative statements, the metaphors that are used in this poem. Now, hold fast to dreams. You can hold fast to certain things, but not dreams, because dreams you cannot actually hold fast. So that means, like, dreams, they are used for something else. And what is that something else here? That means you have some visions, you have some goals, you have some aims in your life that you want to become like that, you want to earn like that. So those things, those goals for future here are dreams. So this is not actually a dream that you dream in your in night when you are asleep. So this is not that type of dream. Here dream is something else. So again, it is a metaphor. Metaphor is used by Huge. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, so human beings, animals, insects, they die. But here what is if dreams die? So again, a personification of dream, because a dream cannot die literally. So again, we are not using the literal language, we are using the figurative language. So again, a personification of dream, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird. Again, a metaphor, comparison, life. Now life is something, an abstract thing, and the life is compared with a broken winged bird. So you have seen birds around you, and you know that generally birds, they have two wings. So if one wing is broken, then birds cannot fly. So life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Again, life is compared with a bird, and we know that birds, they fly. And similarly, the comparison is like this, that life cannot fly. This is the first four lines. So what is broken winged bird here? So it is not actual bird we are talking about, but we are talking about the life will become harsh, life will become difficult if you cannot fulfill your dreams. So that thing will happen. Then hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go. Now again, the movement of coming and going is related to vehicle, it is related to human beings, animate objects, but not with dreams. So again, a personification. For when dreams go, life is a barren field. Now a barren field is a place where the crops do not grow. So that type of comparison is there. So again, this veggie, the metaphor is from the vegetable world that you have. Life is a barren field. Now what is a barren field? So there will be emotional and spiritual death if dreams go, frozen with snow. So you can think of a land that is frozen with snow. In such a land, no crops will grow. So that fact we already know. So you can see, like, even the poem is so short, even the poem has only 8 lines, but still the use of metaphor makes it more prominent. So we have seen that why a poet uses metaphor or a figurative statement or a figurative language to make the description more powerful. And as you can see, that this is one of the much anthologized poem written by Langston Hughes in 8 lines. I repeat once again the entire poem. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. You can also learn such type of poems by heart, 20, 30, 50 poems, so that, like, once you pass out am in English, then you will be literally informed that okay, you have something in your mind that you know all the time. So you can see like how metaphor is used here. Now we have the categorization of metaphors by different critiques as well. And one such important critique is I.A. Richards. So I.A. Richards breaks metaphor into two types. One is vehicle, and you know what is the vehicle? A car is a vehicle, a bus is a vehicle, a motorbike is a vehicle. So what do we do with the vehicle? We commute from one place to another place. We move from one place to another place. We go from one place to another place. That is the purpose of a vehicle. So, and here the metaphor is divided into first vehicle. That means word or phrase figuratively applied to. So that is the vehicle that we have. For example, when we say life is a broken winged bird. So broken winged bird is a word of phrase figuratively applied to this thing, that life will become difficult and harsh. Broken winged bird. So that is a vehicle here. Then another tenor, that means literal meaning of the word. That means a broken winged bird is a bird whose wings are broken. Fine. So that is a broken winged bird. So that is a literal meaning. So tenor is a literal meaning and vehicle is a figurative meaning that you need to understand. There is one more poet, American poet, and there is a short poem by Emily Dickinson. And the first line of the poem is, I felt a funeral in my brain. Now, funeral is when someone dies, you have a funeral. That procession, once a person is dead, then you have a procession that is known as funeral. Either you bury that person or you burn that person. So that is a funeral actually. Now, funeral is happening where here? Here the funeral is happening in my brain. What Emily Dickinson is saying, I felt a funeral in my brain. So what the literal meaning of funeral? Literal meaning of funeral is like the procession, the activities that people do after a person is dead. That is the literal meaning. That will become tenor. But what is a vehicle here? So vehicle means like here a funeral is like she is falling into madness. So I felt a funeral. That means like I am getting mad. That type of feeling is here. So this is again like the two types. So you can very easily identify the literal meaning because you already know the meaning of the words. So the literal meaning is tenor, and the the vehicle is the figurative, like to what it applied to, or contextually what is the meaning. So here contextually the meaning is falling into madness. Now the types of metaphor. You have one type is dead metaphor. Now what is a dead metaphor? So we know that language is figurative. Language is metaphorical. For example, when I say uh, I uh, I will I will let's say a phrasal verb that we use, I will look into the matter. When I say I will look into the matter, so the look into has different meaning here. Or I will take care. I will take care of that particular thing. So take means something else and care means something else. So when you use the phrasal verb take care, then it has a different meaning. Look into, it has a different meaning. Put on has a different meaning. Put off has a different meaning. So we know that generally language is metaphorical, and phrasal verbs we use in day-to-day life, uh, they mean differently. So in a phrasal verb, we have let's say a preposition like look down upon. So we have like this three-part phrasal verb, look, down, and upon. So look is verb, down is preposition, upon is upon preposition. So but the meaning of look down upon is altogether different. So this is like we use look down upon in our day-to-day communication as well. So we know that the nature of language is figurative. So what happens in a dead metaphor? Figurative nature of a metaphor dissipates. That means evaporates when it is used too often. So it becomes a cliche. It becomes a cliche. Metaphorical side comes to seem literal. Though it is metaphor, but it seems to look like literal. So the metaphorical side, that means the vehicle side, fades fades away. So for example, in a phrase grasp an idea, so we have generally this phrase grasp an idea. So here grasp signifies only its tenor, that means comprehend, and not grab hold to. Fine. So like grasp generally means grab hold to. So we grasp means grab hold to, but this figurative meaning, this vehicle uh, dissipates. Fine. And what happens? Only the tenor remains, the comprehend. Fine. The literal meaning of the word remains like the comprehend. So this is the way, like time is running out. Now again, this type of phrase is there. So what happens, like metaphorical side comes to seem literal. Time is running out. We use so often that it becomes a metaphorical side dissipates. Dissipates. Fine. Then we have a mixed metaphor. A mixed metaphor is one in which the combination of qualities suggested is illogical or ridiculous. Like we have a metaphor, but what happened? Like we have more than one metaphor that we have, and in a single line we have more than one metaphor, and each metaphor has different quality. And when more than one metaphor is used, then the combination looks quite illogical or ridiculous, a result of trying to apply two metaphors to one thing. For example, vipers. Now vipers, they are the types of snake we have. So we can say those vipers stabbed us in the back. Now vipers can actually bite. Fine. So what we are doing, like vipers and then stabbing is a different type of activity, us in the back. So two metaphor we are using. Vipers, that means we are talking about uh, the enemy, and stabbing is like backstabbing, stabbing in the back. So that type of thing is there. So we are not saying those vipers bit us in the back. We are not saying like that. So viper and stabbing, so these two, like it becomes quite ridiculous. So in Hamlet we have the mixed metaphor, the example of to take arms. To take arms, arms means like arms and emulation, like guns and all other sorts, they are arms. To take arms against a sea of troubles. So again, like two different type of thing, like take arms against a sea of troubles. So mixed metaphor, and the result is quite ridiculous and illogical. So we have dead metaphor. In that metaphor, figurative nature of the metaphor dissipates, that is one thing. And we have a mixed metaphor where combination of more than one metaphor and things become quite illogical. So this is for the day that we have. So we have discussed what is metaphor, what is dead metaphor, what is mixed metaphor, and we have looked at the example of a poem titled Dreams by Langston Hughes, and we have seen different uses of metaphor. We have also looked at that how critiques they look at metaphor. Particularly, we have seen the instance of I.A. Richards. So this is for the day, and this falls under the things that we have discussed. It falls under language of literature, so that we have discussed. So if you have any doubt or question, you can raise your doubt and question. I'll try to answer that. Do you have any doubt or question?
Sir, can you repeat the definition of statement?
Statement.
Sir, fixed statement.
Fixed statement.
Yes, sir.
Fixed statement. What is fixed statement? I do not know.
Sir, you